Hello, true believers. Spike back with the chore of duty. It's great to see you back. If you've been wondering where this show has been for the last year, I suggest you check out one of my other shows, Geeking Out. Episodes 232 and 233 pretty much explain what happened. But I am back on the stick, and I've got some things we need to talk about. So hang in, because this one's going to get a little rough. Now, a lot's happened in the last year since I posted an episode of this. Namely, the election of Donald Trump. Now, a lot of people have been quite happy with Trump's election, and it's been roughly 3 weeks since he took over and was sworn into office. I'm recording this in mid-February of 2025. The thing is, a lot of people are excited about what he's been able to do so far, and they're a little upset because a lot of the things he's been trying to do by executive order are being countermanded by judges left and right, mainly on the left. But there's something we need to keep in mind here, and something that's important for you to realize. Getting Donald Trump elected was the easy part, which after 2020 seems kind of counterintuitive. But the truth is, the hard part is just beginning. Because let me tell you what historically tends to happen whenever we see a major sea change like we've seen with Trump. The last time we saw this was with the election of Ronald Reagan back in 1980. It took him a couple of years to be able to get his feet on the ground and really start making progress. And by 1984, it was pretty much everything was back to normal, and we had recovered from the Carter era. But look at what's happened between 1984 and 2024. It just took 40 years for us to wind up right back in the exact same ditch, and buried even deeper, actually, if you want to be honest about it. The mud gets thicker, the mud gets more viscous and starts hanging on to you even harder and harder, and it's harder to escape. So we're seeing a lot of changes with Donald Trump. He's been implementing a number of programs and executive orders to change things around. Their DEI is no longer the law of the land. Trans is no longer a protected class. You now have Elon Musk running DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, who has pretty much put a bullet in the head of USAID, and a number of other corrupt organizations are now literally sweating bullets because they're afraid that their funding is going to be cut off for all the miscellaneous rigmarole that they've been engaged in. So all of these wins, Donald Trump said before that you're going to get tired of winning, and I seriously doubt his supporters, including me. I am a Trump supporter. I wasn't back in 2016. We'll get into that here in a minute. I don't think they'll get tired of winning, but we have some more heavy lifting that needs to be done. Number one, you're starting to see, as I said, court challenges to Trump's executive orders and Trump's policies, particularly when related to DOGE and Elon Musk's involvement. A lot of these judges are being activists on the bench. They are attempting to essentially emasculate the executive branch that Trump heads by asserting authority that they don't necessarily have. We'll get into that in a minute. Another thing we've got to keep an eye on is that when I said the hard part's just begun, the fact is winning an election is easy, okay? Like I said, with judicial activists, that's one thing. That'll work its way through the courts, and it'll work its way through the system, through the Constitution, whether the left likes it or not. The hard part that comes for Trump supporters is over the next 2 to 4 years, between now and 2028. Rest assured, they will do everything in their power. Trump is a second termer. He's not going to get a third term. I know they've talked about that, but it's not going to go anywhere because, again, it's a constitutional amendment now that a president cannot serve more than 2 terms, even if they're non-consecutive. So they're going to do everything they can to bury his vice president, J.D. Vance. It's a matter of time before the attacks will begin. J.D. Vance has already withered a couple of shots, and he seems to be coming out smelling of roses. The problem with that is that the more attacks are made, the more they're going to start to stick. Even Teflon wears down after a while. Ask Donald Trump in 2020. So, what's the hard part that I'm trying to talk about here? And I never work with notes, so I'm just going off the top of my head like I usually do. The hard part is we're going to have to start educating people. We're going to have to start informing people. We're going to have to make sure that people are more aware of what's actually going on. It's like I said, it's easy to win an election. It's harder to win the next election, and the election after that, and the election after that, and the election after that. There's an old saying that good times lead to soft people. Soft people lead to bad times lead to hard people, and hard people lead to good times. We are currently going through the hard people and good times part of this. When that cycle starts to change, what happens, people get used to things working properly, and they just assume it's going to keep working, and that they can sit there and they can fuss budget, they can cajole, they can change things just to make things better or more fair. Remember that F word. That is the real F word that you got to watch out for, is the word fair. Over the next, if we, not just as Republicans, not just as Trump supporters, not just as MAGA, not just as libertarians, not just as Democrats even, if we do not get people to understand that it is vital that they stay informed and be aware of why all the things Trump has done have worked, if we don't stay on top of that, people will forget and they'll start sliding back into bad old habits. And those bad old habits include voting for anybody who promises them money. Promise them money, promise them housing, promise them health care, promise them all kinds of things. Anything to get their vote. I'm telling you, if we do not get involved and stop enjoying the victory, okay, we've enjoyed the victory for 3 months now, since November of 2024. We've been enjoying the victory for 3 months now. We have to put that down, and we need to start doing the heavy lifting of pointing out to people why Doge is important. Why is Elon Musk so effective at cutting government waste when nobody else was able to do it, apparently, including agencies that were set up deliberately to control government waste and government inefficiencies and fraud, like the Government Accounting Office, which honestly hasn't really done their real job in years, although they do love it when they do love picking apart Republican proposals. We do need to get involved and start telling people that taxes are a form of sapping the strength from the economy. We need to inform people that you cannot just continue printing money, because that is the most onerous tax of all. I'll do an episode on that soon, I promise. We need to talk about why it's important to not focus on justice, but to focus on truth, real truth, hard truth, not your truth, not my truth, not our truth, not their truth, actual truth, real truth. We also need to focus people on the idea that all of this can go away. Nothing is guaranteed in this life, including our liberties, including our freedoms, including the American way of life. We came very, very close to losing the American way of life, I would argue, not just from Joe Biden, not just from Barack Obama, but from George W. Bush. Bush, the Jr., did more to gut American liberty than any other president since FDR. So it's something that we need to get out there and start talking about, because if we don't, if we keep taking the victory laps, if we keep lapping up the liberal tears, if we keep thinking the whole world is making sense now and we've won and it's forever, guarantee you the Democrats will retake either the House or the Senate in 2026. I'll pretty much guarantee that they'll take the House in 2026. There's a good chance they'll take the Senate in 2028. And there's also a good chance that J.D. Vance may not be the president in 2028. Just because you're riding high now doesn't mean that the casual voter, let's say, to put it politely, the casual voter who is not informed on the issues, the casual voter who thinks that men are inherently good instead of inherently selfish. There's a little plug for my other show, The Saltine Army, snuck in there somewhere. We need to start getting people involved in their own lives and stop getting involved in other people's lives. And not just to the point where you're trying to help other people become better. That's not what I mean. I mean, stop trying to dictate to other people to reflect your worldview. As I mentioned, my other show, The Saltine Army, I'll have an episode coming up called The Root of All Evil. That's episode 1. And that episode will actually talk about why men are inherently evil. What the root of all evil is, and here's a spoiler alert, it's selfishness. So we need to get on the stick and we need to refocus. This is not necessarily going to be an episode where I sit here and talk about exact strategies we need to do. There are a lot of people who are a lot better than I am. But I do want you to be aware and involved that there are things out there that we need to be aware of and we need to account for. Otherwise, we're going to wind up right back in the exact same situation we were in before, and all because we got lazy again. We got lazy, we got comfortable, we got fat, and we got tired. And we just threw our hands up and said nothing can be done. Well, Trump's doing the heavy lifting for us right now, but we're going to have to be prepared to take up that burden ourselves. So that's all I've got for this episode of The Chore of Duty. I'll see you in episode 1 of The Saltine Army coming up here in just a little bit. That one, again, about the root of all evil. Geeking Out 235 will be coming out soon. I'll be talking about something or other. I'm sure something egregious is going to happen, I'm sure, but that's the geek episode. That's the geek podcast that I do. So for now, I'm going to wish you all the best and tell you to stay awake, keep your head on a swivel, and make sure you keep talking about the real truth. Till next time, I'm Spike. Y'all take care. God bless.